The air is thick with anticipation and analysis today as we plunge into the highly anticipated conclusion of a global phenomenon.
Yeah, we're talking about Squid Game 3, The Final Betrayal, of course, a series that just captivated millions and now finally delivers its, well, decisive ending.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a stack of your essential sources, articles, interviews, critical reviews. You know the drill.
And we meticulously extract the most important nuggets, the key bits of knowledge and insight, our mission, to give you that shortcut to being truly well-informed.
Exactly. Complete with, hopefully, some surprising facts and maybe just enough humor to keep you hooked.
Think of us as your expert guides, helping you understand not just the what, but really digging into the why and the what next.
So today, this deep dive is all about unraveling Squid Game 3. Maybe you've finished the season, you're hungry for a deeper understanding of its plot, its themes, the characters.
And maybe you haven't watched it yet, but you want that comprehensive summary, the analysis of the key events, the big ideas.
Then you are definitely in the right place. We'll meticulously cover, well, everything. From the brutal new games, the returning players' journeys,
To the plot twists, and there are some big ones, the core themes, betrayal, redemption.
Yeah, those really define this season, don't they? And of course, the implications, the big implications of its climactic ending.
You know, what's truly remarkable about Squid Game is how it just transcended language, cultural divides. It became this kind of global mirror, reflecting our deepest societal anxieties. So this final chapter, it isn't just entertainment, right? It feels like a statement.
Definitely a statement. It leaves you wondering, what profound questions does its conclusion leave us, the viewers, to really ponder?
It's a series that just invites us, compels us almost to look beyond the spectacle, beyond the gore, and really engage with its message.
Okay, let's get right into it. Let's delve into the heart of Squid Game 3 by first examining its central conflict and how the games themselves have evolved.
Right. Because our sources really highlight that this season is explicitly framed as the culmination. It's the end of a 3-season-long story.
So it's not just another round of games.
No, absolutely not. It's the decisive, final narrative arc. The creators have clearly taken all the threads from the previous seasons and meticulously woven them together into this ultimate confrontation. It picks up directly where Season 2 left off.
So, seamless continuation.
Exactly. A direct continuation of Gi-hun's journey, his relentless fight against the organization. The sources emphasize this is the deadly final showdown.
Wow, so no spinning wheels here. This is heading towards a definitive end for the competition as we know it.
That's the setup. It immediately raises the stakes. Gi-hun isn't just a participant anymore, is he? He's positioned as the central antagonist to the system itself.
It's not just trying to survive.
No, he's aiming to dismantle it, or at least that seems to be the trajectory.
And central to this final showdown is a brand new game. It sounds deceptively simple, but utterly brutal. Jump rope.
Yeah, the 5th game. And that name, right, jump rope. It evokes childhood innocence.
Which is always terrifying in Squid Game.
Always a red flag. The premise is almost childlike, which makes it, well, all the more chilling. Players have to cross this massive, precarious bridge by timing their jumps over a rapidly rotating, incredibly thick rope, and they've only got 20 minutes.
20 minutes, that's intense.
And what really amplifies the horror is the visual imagery. The rope is held and spun by these gigantic robotic dolls.
The ones from the teaser, Chul-soo and Jung-jae.
That's them. It directly confirms those early fan theories, which is quite satisfying for viewers who caught that. But it just heightens that familiar sense of surreal, deadly childhood games.
But bigger, more monstrous.
Exactly. The sheer scale is terrifying.
It sounds like just a horrific ballet of desperation. And the sources say we see the immediate visceral consequences almost instantly, don't we?
We do. The tragic death of Namgyu, player 118, I believe. He's suffering from withdrawal, desperate.
And he jumps for what, a necklace?
Oh. Yeah, Min-soo throws this Thanos' necklace. A small, seemingly insignificant object, maybe a trinket for luck or something. But Namgyu is so desperate he lunges for it.
Oh no.
And gets hit by the rope. Eliminated, just like that.
Wow, that moment really drives home the brutality.
It's profoundly illustrative, isn't it? Namgyu's death isn't just random. It's a stark portrayal of how the players' own desperate actions, fueled by addiction, fear, or just a tiny sliver of hope,
can lead directly to their demise.
Precisely. The game's design, that relentless rope, it exploits these psychological vulnerabilities. It highlights how the system creates an environment where basic human desperation becomes a weapon against the players themselves.
It's not even always the guards or the game masters directly causing it.
Right. Sometimes it's the system pushing them into these fatal choices. It's a tragic testament to the cruel genius of the game designers.
Okay, let's turn our attention to Seong Gi-hun, player 456. His role, his primary motivation in Squid Game 3. It feels significantly different this time around.
Oh, absolutely. His experiences, especially that failed rebellion from season 2 that the sources mention,
Right.
that seems to have profoundly reshaped his approach. He's not the same man who entered the games in season 1.
How has he evolved? How is he this season's central figure?
Well, if we connect this to the broader narrative, the sources describe him returning to the game with a genuinely new purpose.
A new purpose. Okay.
It's not just about personal survival anymore. It's not even primarily about the money, you sense.
Right.
His past, marked by his strong beliefs about class struggle, his opposition to corporations, that positions him now as fundamentally opposed to the game's entire ethos.
Because he's not just playing the game, he's fighting the game itself.
Exactly. His journey isn't just about escaping. It's about confronting the core of the system. That failed rebellion wasn't really a failure in the long run, was it?
No, it seems like it was a catalyst.
A crucible, yeah. It refined his resolve, transformed him from a maybe hesitant participant into a determined agent of change.
And this transformation, it's put to the ultimate test, isn't it? When the front man, Hwang, who we now know as player 001.
Right. The winner of his own game, revealed in season 2.
He offers Gi-hun this chilling opportunity. A dagger. And the chance to kill his competitors in their sleep before the final game.
It's such a pivotal moment, and it's chilling because it mirrors the frontman's own dark choice from his past before his final game.
He's basically asking Gi-hun, will you become like me?
That's exactly the test. The frontman explicitly designed it to see if Gi-hun would imitate his own behavior, forcing him to choose between that grisly advantage, as the sources call it, and his own moral compass.
And Gi-hun's reaction?
It's defining. He unequivocally refuses. Even though he's under immense threat, they threaten his life, and horrifyingly, the life of a newborn baby.
We'll get to the baby later, but yeah.
Even then, Gi-hun walked away and declined to stab anyone. He consciously chooses to let the final game play out fairly, or as fairly as it can. He doesn't resort to that depravity. It firmly reestablishes his core ethics. It powerfully distinguishes him from the system, unlike the frontman who clearly succumbed.
He breaks the cycle.
He does. He asserts a morality that the games are designed to extinguish.
And his resolve, it isn't just this internal battle, is it? It's profoundly impacted by Jung-jae, player 192. Her desperate plea, and then her public suicide.
That moment is crucial. Initially, Gi-hun refuses her request, this immense burden to protect Kim Jung-hee and her newborn daughter. He hesitates.
Understandably, perhaps.
That Jung-jae's tragic act, her public suicide, it moves him. It changes him.
Tell us more about that. Why did she do it?
Jung-jae's suicide is not just shocking, it's deeply impactful. It acts as a catalyst for Gi-hun's evolving sense of responsibility. Her act is fueled by this overwhelming, lifelong guilt.
Guilt over what?
Over having, in her words, killed my own child, her son, Young-sik, in her past. It seems tied to a series of misfortunes, maybe her own actions or inactions.
Oh, that's heavy.
Extremely. So this desperate public self-sacrifice becomes this profound indictment of the game's unfairness, a visceral plea for mercy for Jung-hee and the baby, and it works on Gi-hun.
It pushes him over the edge into commitment.
It directly influences his decision. It transforms his motivation from maybe an abstract opposition to the games into this tangible, personal mission to protect the child.
And we see the ultimate symbol of this in the jump rope game itself, right? Him crossing the bridge with the baby.
Oh, that image. It's perhaps one of the most powerful, resonant images of the entire series.
It really sticks with you.
His act of physically carrying the newborn, shielding it from that deadly rope, it's a profound visual representation of his evolution.
From survivor to protector.
Exactly. He moves beyond being just a survivor or even just a rebel. He becomes a true protector, actively shielding the most innocent, the most vulnerable from the game's cruelty.
It's the visual embodiment of his new purpose.
It is. It shows that compassion, that humanity can exist and even assert itself in the most brutal, inhumane arenas.
Okay, so beyond Gi-hun, let's talk about the key new characters introduced this season. Who are they and what drives them? What new layers do they add to the thematic landscape of Squid Game?
These new additions are really crucial, I think. They enrich the themes, whether they're victims, perpetrators, or these complex figures caught somewhere in between.
Let's start with Jung-jae, player 333, played by Im Si-won, who joined in Season 2.
Right. His backstory is remarkably timely, isn't it? It serves as this direct commentary on contemporary financial vulnerabilities.
How so?
He's a former crypto YouTuber, lost millions in a scam. It highlights the kind of desperation born from modern financial traps that can funnel people into extreme situations like the games.
So it grounds the fantasy in a very real-world anxiety.
Precisely. But it's not just about money for him. He also comes face-to-face with his pregnant ex-girlfriend, Kim Jun-hee, player 222.
The one he ghosted.
Exactly. Which adds this deeply personal layer of betrayal, unresolved conflict, right into the middle of the deadly arena.
That complicates things massively.
It does. And actor Im Si-won himself said he found the character challenging, needing to balance carefully between good and evil.
So he's not just a straightforward villain.
No, it underscores the moral ambiguity that pervades the game. It forces you to ask, are these participants just victims, or does the system also tempt them, corrupt them, into becoming perpetrators too?
And then there's Kim Jun-hee herself, player 222. Her story just immediately escalates the stakes for innocent life.
It really does. A pregnant participant who gives birth during the games, it's an unimaginable scenario.
And the VIP's response.
It is, quite frankly, one of the most disturbing plot points. In this chilling display of absolute dehumanization, they declare her newborn baby also a player.
A player in the jump rope game.
Yes. It just pushes the boundaries of the game's cruelty to an unprecedented, horrifying level.
It strips away any last shred of decency.
Any pretense of fairness, yeah. It highlights the organization's boundless depravity. Her fate and the baby's becomes completely tied to Gi-hun's promise to come get her after he carries the child across.
It's a stark reminder that nobody is safe, not even a newborn.
Reduced to mere entertainment.
And we can't overlook Jung-jae, player 192. We touched on her suicide influencing Gi-hun, but her character reveals more about guilt and survival, right then?
Definitely. Jung-jae is a profoundly significant new character. Her tragic arc deepens that theme of internal guilt, the ultimate cost of survival.
Her suicide stems from that guilt over her son, Young-sik.
Yes, the feeling that she killed my own child in her past. Her public act is this visceral plea for mercy, an indictment of the game's injustice, fueled by her own history.
And her character illustrates something broader.
Yeah, the source material notes how her character shows that even outside the games, good people beat themselves up about the smallest things. It shows how personal tragedies, self-blame, can lead to extreme acts, even when not directly forced by the game masters.
The psychological weight is immense.
It demonstrates the pervasive, destructive nature of a harsh world, both inside and outside the arena. Interestingly, there's a little detail the sources mention. A fan theory about her hiding a blade in her hairpin, maybe to cut the baby's umbilical cord. That actually proved true.
No way.
Yeah, it shows the incredible level of detail the creators weave in and how closely fans were watching every single frame.
Okay, shifting focus a bit. This season really expands on the lore, doesn't it? Especially regarding the VIPs and the enigmatic frontman.
It does. We've seen them before, obviously, but their involvement feels different now.
How so? What's changed with the VIPs?
It's quite striking. They shed that passive observer role. This season, they take a far more active, hands-on approach.
Hands-on how?
No longer just watching from luxurious rooms, they actually pose as soldiers to personally execute the eliminated players.
What? They're down, they're killing people themselves?
Yes. Moving beyond voyeurism to direct participation in the violence. And their dehumanizing pleasure is palpable.
How is that shown?
One VIP chillingly compares the experience to being a Maasai tribesman stalking the African wilderness, calling it on another level.
That's disgusting.
It is. They openly discuss upholding Chairman O's wishes to better entertain my guests. It just starkly reinforces the games as this grotesque spectacle designed solely for the elite's amusement and control.
Blurring the lines between observer and perpetrator.
Completely. It deepens the critique of the wealthy finding perverse pleasure in the suffering of others.
And the frontman, Hwang In-ho.
Yeah.
His role is also elevated, right?
Yeah.
Like a successor.
Indeed. The VIPs explicitly state that Chairman O passed the reins to you, speaking to the frontman. It definitively confirms his succession as the game's ultimate overseer.
But their tone toward him, It's interesting.
Very telling. It's casual, almost mocking at times. For example, one VIP comments, "When you don't open your mouth, you're kind of attractive."
Wow, that hints at complex power dynamics, even within the organization.
Exactly. Despite his immense authority over the games, he still seems to serve their twisted abusement. It suggests that even at the top, power can be a gilded cage.
He's still an instrument for the VIPs, who are the true architects.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
Even the powerful front man is ultimately serving their desires.
What else does this season add to the overarching lore? We know Jun-ho, Wi-ha-jun's character, survived being shot by his brother, the frontman, in Season 1.
Yes, and Jun-ho's continued presence is crucial. It signals this ongoing external threat to the games. He survived, and this season he continues his intensive search for the island.
He knows where he was shot.
He's confirmed the precise cliff where In-ho shot him, so his investigation is becoming more focused, more dangerous for the organization.
So it expands the universe, suggesting the games aren't entirely impenetrable.
Right. It introduces the possibility of an external force eventually bringing them down, or at least exposing them further. And crucially, speaking of timelines, that long-standing fan theory about a 10-20-year time jump for Season 3 debunked.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't true.
It was apparently a mistranslation. The show takes place immediately after Season 2, direct, continuous narrative.
Which makes sense for the intensity.
It does. However, the sources do confirm a separate movie might be set decades later.
Interesting. So they can explore that later timeline without disrupting this core story.
Exactly. It allows for that immediate continuation of Gi-hun's current high-stakes mission, keeping the tension right where it needs to be.
Okay, let's pivot now to the real core of this season's narrative. The plot twists, the turning points in Squid Game 3. And that title, The Final Betrayal, really hints at what's coming.
Yeah, it sets the stage for some profound revelations. And what's striking is how these twists aren't just for shock value, you know?
No.
They feel like they meticulously unravel the psychological, the moral fabric of the characters and the institution itself.
So what stands out is pivotal. We talked about Gi-hun's test from the frontman.
Right, but its significance as a plot twist really can't be overstated. Hwang In-ho, revealed as Player 001 and now the frontman, offers Gi-hun that chilling opportunity.
The dagger kill the others.
Exactly. And it's not just a test. It's that mirror to In-ho's own dark past choice. Gi-hun's refusal, even with his life and the baby's life on the line. It's a massive turning point.
It solidifies his path.
Completely. Establishes his true moral character, sets him apart from his adversary. It defines him as a hero, not through violence, but through moral resistance.
And then there's that gut-wrenching public suicide of Jung-jae. We know it motivates Gi-hun, but as a plot point, it's huge.
Absolutely huge and deeply influential. It happens right after Gi-hun initially struggles with her request to protect Jin-hee and the baby.
Her act is rooted in that past guilt about her son.
Yes, that feeling of having killed my own child. Her desperate public sacrifice, broadcast to everyone, is designed to elicit mercy, highlight the injustice, and it works.
It forces Gi-hun's hand, in a way.
It shifts his internal struggle from hesitation to that firm commitment. Her sacrifice isn't just emotional weight. It's a potent commentary on guilt, atonement, and the lack of conventional justice in this world, a dark redemption that fuels Gi-hun's resolve.
And the VIP's decision about the baby, making it a player, that's a horrifying twist.
It's designed to shock and outrage, and it absolutely succeeds. It strips away any remaining pretense of fair play or even basic humanity.
Declaring a newborn a participant in jump rope.
It demonstrates their absolute lack of empathy, their disregard for innocent life. It amplifies the critique, human life as a disposable commodity for elite amusement, and it gives Gi-hun an even more poignant, immediate purpose.
Protecting that defenseless life.
Exactly. And finally, the season culminates in this major revelation about the frontman's fate. The sources say Gi-hun loses his closest friend, the mysterious frontman hiding in plain sight.
Closest friend. The phrasing is loaded.
Incredibly significant, isn't it? Highly deliberate. It confirms a decisive end for Hwang In-ho, death, defeat, something final, but it also suggests this profound emotional cost for Gi-hun.
More than just beating the villain.
It hints at a complex bond, maybe tragic, maybe rooted in a shared past or understanding. It elevates the conflict beyond simple good versus evil.
And Jung-jae, the actor playing Gi-hun, was surprised by it.
Yeah, he noted he didn't expect that kind of ending for his character, which underscores how profound and perhaps unexpected it is. It suggests a shared humanity corrupted in one, but ultimately saved in the other.
Okay, moving beyond the plot points, let's explore the core themes woven through Squid Game 3. We're talking the nature of justice, redemption, the corrupting influence of power, that illusion of choice.
Yeah, these are the big questions the show grapples with, and it does so with this heightened drama in the final season. Critics note it has an awareness perhaps season 2 lacked.
Awareness of its own popularity.
Yeah, explicitly grappling with that while still delivering this sharp critique of capitalism, of human ethics. Let's start with the nature of justice.
Right. Can justice even exist in a system like this?
The show constantly interrogates that. The VIP's active participation in executions, their dehumanization of players, including the baby, it completely redefines justice.
As perverse entertainment.
Exactly. Where the powerful dictate life and death on a whim, totally devoid of fairness. It forces you to look at societies where power dictates value, dictates who lives and dies.
And what about the possibility of redemption? Gi-hun's arc feels central here.
Definitely. His journey, marked by that deep regret arc from season 2, culminates in his decisive commitment to protect the baby. It highlights this proactive heroism, a path toward personal redemption.
But it's not the only path shown.
No, and that's important. Jang Gi-hun's tragic redemption through self-sacrifice offers a stark contrast, a darker yet equally powerful exploration of the theme. It proves redemption can come at a devastating personal cost.
It challenges the idea that redemption is always a happy ending.
It can be born from profound sorrow, profound sacrifice.
Then there's the corrupting influence of power, a classic Squid Game theme, but amplified here.
Absolutely amplified. Through the VIP's direct involvement, yes, but also showing how power corrupts those who seek it, not just those who already have it.
Like player 096.
Exactly. After safely crossing the jump rope bridge, he viciously shoves other players off, not for survival, but to increase the prize pool for himself.
That's chilling.
It shows how the system fosters this self-serving greed, turning individuals into agents of the very cruelty they endured, adopting the ruthless logic of the system.
And finally, the illusion of choice. Still potent.
As potent as ever. The games consistently present choices that aren't really choices at all. Think back to Jung-jae pleading with players to vote X to end the games.
A simple act of solidarity, but they don't do it.
It's ignored. It demonstrates how systemic pressures, individual fears, override collective action, trapping people in this false sense of agency.
Like Namgyu jumping for the necklace.
Precisely. The games compel desperation, manipulate people into making seemingly free choices that are actually dictated by their brutal circumstances, a chilling mirror to systems that claim freedom while subtly restricting it.
Zooming out a bit, it's clear the new games aren't just random challenges. They're, carefully crafted allegories, right?
Oh, absolutely. They function as metaphors, reflecting and commenting on contemporary societal issues, often quite brutally.
So how does jump rope work as an allegory?
Well, think about the premise. Crossing this precarious bridge, avoiding a deadly, sweeping obstacle, it can be seen as a powerful metaphor for the constant precarity of modern life, especially within capitalism.
One wrong step, and you're out.
Or one push from a competitor, like player 096, it leads to irreversible ruin, symbolizing the cutthroat nature of economic survival, where people are pitted against each other just to stay afloat.
It's a brutal simulation of real-world struggle.
It really is, and the character backstories feed into this too.
Like Jung-jae, the crypto YouTuber. That feels incredibly timely.
It's a direct, sharp commentary on the speculative, often predatory nature of modern finance, especially things like the crypto bubble.
So his desperation is rooted in a very current phenomenon.
Exactly. His inclusion highlights how financial desperation, born from systemic vulnerabilities, the lure of quick wealth gone wrong, can directly funnel people into extreme situations like the Squid Games.
It reinforces that the games aren't just some isolated evil.
No, they're a symptom. A final horrific resort for those chewed up and spat out by a flawed economic system. It makes you think about how many people are caught in similar, less violent traps of financial precarity every day.
What's really fascinating here is how these extreme pressures act as a catalyst, right? Forcing these profound, often tragic transformations, laying bare the human condition.
The game is definitely a brutal crucible for character. Gi-hun's heroic evolution is absolutely central to this.
Moving from survivor to protector.
Yeah, his arc moves decisively from someone driven by personal grievance to a protector motivated by compassion, by responsibility. His refusal of the front man's offer, that solidifies his moral stance.
Choosing empathy over advantage.
He consciously chooses a different path from the villain. His commitment to the baby underscores this newfound responsibility. He becomes a proactive hero in the most harrowing circumstances.
And then on the other side of that coin, you have the frontman's unveiling, the flashbacks showing his own dark path.
It's a brilliant contrast. These flashbacks reveal that the frontman, Hwang In-ho, made the ruthless choice. Gi-hun rejected killing fellow players for an advantage.
Chilling.
This parallel explores the game's corrupting power, not just on the players, but on those who rise within its ranks. It shows how greed and ego can end up corrupting them and turning them evil.
So even winners can become perpetrators.
Exactly. His ultimate loss to Gi-hun, described as losing his closest friend, hints at the tragic cost of his path. It adds this complex, almost sympathetic layer to his villainy, a man who lost his humanity.
It makes you consider how many people become monsters because the system forced impossible choices on them.
It does. And Jung Jae's tragic redemption is another powerful journey.
Her story revealing the crushing weight of past guilt.
Exactly. Her public suicide, driven by that desire for atonement, is this dark, extreme portrayal of seeking redemption. Her character highlights how good people beat themselves up about the smallest things.
And how the consequences of a harsh life, even outside the game, can be deadly.
Yeah, the psychological scars, the systemic failures. Her redemption is found in sacrifice, not survival.
And then there's Jung-jae, the new villain, but he has his own internal struggle.
Right, trying to balance carefully between good and evil, as the actor put it. He's not one-dimensional.
His history with Jung-jae complicates things.
It makes him a more nuanced antagonist, someone who is also a product of the system he now seems to thrive within. It forces us to question the easy division between good and evil.
Suggesting even cruel acts might stem from desperation, corruption by circumstance.
Or just being unable to resist the game's perverse incentives. He represents those gray areas, how a brutal system can compromise morals.
Okay, let's move to the end game now. This is what everyone's been waiting for. How is the main conflict resolved? What's the outcome of the final game?
This is where it all culminates. And creator Hwang Dong-hyuk apparently agonized over this ending, wanting to heighten the emotions and deliver the message clearly.
So the central conflict is Gi-hun versus the frontman.
Undeniably. The sources frame it as the deadly final showdown. This is the season's main conflict, Gi-hun's ultimate focus. It moves beyond survival to this decisive confrontation with the game's architect.
Where the personal becomes systemic.
Exactly. His individual battle takes on this much larger meaning.
And a key resolution, a huge one, is the frontman's fate. That line again. Gi-hun loses his closest friend, the mysterious frontman hiding in plain sight.
It's incredibly impactful. That phrasing, loses his closest friend, indicates a definitive end for Hwang In-ho. Death, defeat, something final.
But the emotional cost for Gi-hun.
But that's the key. It suggests this profoundly impactful emotional toll. It implies that complex, maybe tragic bond we talked about, something beyond simple hero versus villain.
And Lee Jung-jae's surprise at the ending reinforces that.
Yeah, it suggests a nuanced resolution, not simplistic good versus evil, but something more human, more resonant.
And how does this conclusion impact the series overall? Does it feel like real closure for the 3 seasons?
The sources confirm it definitively closes its 3-season-long story about a deadly survival competition. It implies a comprehensive resolution for this iteration of the games for these key players.
So, designed for finality for this arc.
Exactly. Rather than leaving endless possibilities open for more of the same, it delivers on the promise of a decisive ending, tying up the main threads. Crafted for resolution, not indefinite continuation.
Thinking about the bigger picture then, the fates of these characters, they're more than just plot points, right? They're critical to the show's message.
Oh, absolutely. They embody the show's commentary on human nature, societal influence.
So what can we infer about Gi-hun's ultimate trajectory? Does he survive? Does he win?
Well, the explicit details of survival or death aren't laid out in the sources we have. But actor Lee Jung-jae's comments give us the spirit of his ending, prioritizing the integrity of the story over just prolonging it for success. An ending designed to heighten the emotions, connect the story, and deliver the message clearly.
So, powerful, maybe bittersweet, but definitive for his arc.
That's the strong implication. Not a simple win or loss, but the profound culmination of his journey, leaving a lasting impression, focusing on the message, not just the character's individual fate.
And amidst all that darkness, what about Kim Jun-hee and the baby? Is there any hope there?
There is a vital glimmer, actually, a deliberate counterpoint. The newborn baby is explicitly stated to be set for life.
Set for life. Okay, that suggests survival.
Strongly suggests survival and a future free from the immediate horrors. And Gi-hun, having carried the baby across jump rope, vows to come get Junhee.
So a potential reunion, uncertain, but possible.
Exactly. This small act of safeguarding innocent life provides this crucial emotional anchor. It shows humanity can endure, offering fragile hope beyond the games.
And for the other players, do we get closure for them too?
While maybe not every single detail for every participant, the season is noted to cover the final fates of the game's survivors.
Okay.
So it indicates the narrative does provide a general sense of closure for many key players, bringing their stories to a conclusion within this final season, addressing the overall human cost.
Now, the biggest question, maybe, does the ending of Squid Game 3 suggest a genuine possibility of dismantling the organization? Or is it more nuanced?
This is where the show really walks that line between narrative closure and its broader critique. That idea of Gi-hun dismantling the Squid Games forever. It's a huge fan theory.
Yeah, everyone wanted that triumphant ending.
Understandably. But it was always acknowledged as a tall order for one season, given how deep-rooted, how systemic this organization seems.
Like cutting off one head of the Hydra.
Something like that. The show implicitly acknowledges systemic evils aren't usually undone with one single heroic act.
And the director's vision leans into that complexity.
Seems so. Hwang prioritizing story integrity. A clear message over an indefinite continuation for profit. It suggests a conclusive narrative for this specific arc, Gi-hun's direct fight.
But not necessarily the end of the entire system.
Right. It implies that while this game might be shut down, the underlying societal issues, greed, desperation, exploitation that allow such games to exist, they might persist. A cycle waiting to be reborn unless the wider world changes.
And there's that fascinating meta-commentary critics pointed out about the VIPs being surrogates for the viewer.
Yes. A brilliant, self-aware critique, Roxana Haddadi's point. If the audience is just gaping at the series' ghastliness rather than ingesting its critique, we're part of the problem.
Wow. So what does that mean for dismantling the organization?
It suggests that even if this game is stopped, the human tendency for voyeurism, for finding entertainment in suffering, and the societal issues feeding the game's inequality, unchecked power, might persist.
So true dismantling is a bigger societal challenge.
It extends beyond the screen, into our own collective consciousness. The system can only truly be dismantled when society itself stops creating the conditions for it.
And some theories even suggested a darker ending for Gi-hun. Maybe him becoming corrupted like the front man.
Yeah, those theories were out there. That he could lead a darker ending, raising questions about humanity and society rather than a triumphant takedown.
And while that specific outcome didn't happen,
it aligns perfectly with the show's consistent exploration of how greed and ego can end up corrupting them and turning them evil. It's a constant warning. The line between victim and perpetrator is thin, and the system is designed to blur it.
So the ending isn't a simple resolution.
No, it's a provocative statement on the enduring human condition and the systemic issues that continue to challenge us all.
Wow. We have journeyed through quite a lot today.
Yeah.
The intricate plot, the brutal new games, the profound character arcs of Squid Game 3.
Yeah. From Gi-hun's defining moral choices, those tragic sacrifices that spurred him on,
to the chilling depths of the VIP's depravity, the ultimate fate of the frontman.
This deep dive has really shown how the final season meticulously ties together all those narrative threads.
It's a series that just uses its intense premise to hold that mirror up to our own world, challenging us, really, to look beyond the spectacle.
To see the underlying critiques.
Exactly.
So as you reflect on this final chapter of the deep dive into Squid Game, think about what creator Hwang Dong-hyuk hoped for. He hoped viewers would ask themselves the one question.
The one question.
After everything we've discussed, the critiques of capitalism, the corruption of power, the illusion of choice, the persistence of human nature under pressure, what is that one question he truly wanted you to ask yourself?
And maybe how does your answer reflect the world we live in today, long after the games on screen have supposedly ended?
How do we, as a society, either perpetuate or maybe challenge the conditions that make such games, even metaphorically, conceivable?
That's our deep dive for today. Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep digging beneath the surface of the stories that shape our understanding of the world.